Okay, so if I could have everybody's attention up here, I'd like to start my lecture for today on really introducing you to the assignment. We've done a lot of talking. I've done a lot of talking. So I will get to looking at how much time I have. I might get to the shape and color lecture if I finish introducing you to the real to abstract. But I do want to turn off the lights. I think, oh, no wonder you can't see what I'm looking at, can you? All right. I'm going to turn off the lights entirely as we're pulling the screen up. There's a conversation going on up here. If you have your computer in front of you, I'd appreciate you putting it to sleep. That'd be great. And if you send your direction up here. There's a conversation going on up here, which is about grading for the class. And can I say what you said? Mm-hmm. Crystal said she thinks that the grading for this class is more subjective than a different class. And one of the reasons there's so much criteria for this class in terms of your sketching, thumbnails, brainstorming, digital development, showing your digital process, showing your entire digital process, and then your final presentation and the polished final presentation, and your design narrative, which should be informative and thoughtful and reflective, expressing your use of design elements and design principles. All that criteria is required in order to not be subjective, is designed to give you ways to be successful. Some of you might look, I know that if I were intimidated by software and I looked at a student who had clearly a very accomplished artistic style, and I was just learning software, I would think, how can I ever compare if I struggle with art and this student can do it blindfolded? If you do a perfect, beautiful, in your mind, if you do a perfect, beautiful presentation and you put it on the wall and you submit it, just your presentation, to Moodle, your maximum number of points is 70, right? That would be a low C, right on the low C. And if I don't have anything to inform me about what your intention is, your process, your journey, the struggle of creation, the struggle of recreation, and then recreation again. If I don't have any reference to it, you could be sure you won't get 70% on the ultimately gorgeous, perfect presentation in Moodle, because I don't know what to base it on. For all I know, you could have had it for an assignment for a different class that fit the criteria, and you plunked it in there and you called it a day. And so, in other words, what I'm saying is you wouldn't get a very strong grade on a really beautiful final presentation without giving me context for it. And the context is built by the 10 points you can earn by thoughtful brainstorming, which would include your color palettes you've grabbed, sketches, thinking out loud in your journal, writing ideas, working with words, grabbing images from Google. If you're just grabbing found images from Google and you're not sketching your concepts, that is not a complete brainstorming grade. I want you to understand what meets the criteria. If you just post your Kuhler images as you're brainstorming, Kuhler colors, and you don't have the sketches and you don't have other thoughtful ways of brainstorming, you know, you can take photos with your camera too, then that's still not a complete brainstorming grade. And I mostly assess the amount of energy that went into it. And you can tell. I've actually never had a student complain about a grade yet, because we all know the work we're submitting. We all know what we're about. And then digital progress, I usually can tell that you've done a lot of it, but the more digital information you give me about your progress, how you work, the color palettes, the filters you're using, sometimes that gets enhanced by your design narrative when you describe what you're doing. Some of you make little captions next to your images, like, I did this here, and I got rid of that there, or I did this whole project and then I hated it and then I started all over with daffodils. Is that what you said? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so telling me that shows me your journey. So, Lauren, who might have trashed a whole bunch of stuff, hopefully kept her little journey and landed her at daffodils. Because if I remember, you said, I spent 10 hours doing this, and then this just happened, and there it was. Is that kind of right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's actually my creative process, to tell you the truth. I somehow struggle through things, and then all of a sudden it pours out of me in 20 minutes, and it's done. But I had to do that 20 hours of struggle in order to arrive at my 20 minutes of success. That's my thing. So keep in mind when you submit your PDF files that you include the score sheet, that you include your assessment of how you apply design principles and elements, and then make sure you've got brainstorming, digital process, design narrative, you talking out loud, and then your final polished presentation. So for example, Lauren, her final polished presentation, she had those little cutouts. She would probably have a page that shows her 3 images that appear cut out side by side. Don't give me 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages of things that are presented in one cohesive set. Is that clear for everybody? Okay. So hopefully it's really not very subjective. Hopefully the effort that you put in comes across through how you put together your PDF file. So are there any questions about grading? And then your exercises should be not subjective at all. Some of you, I kicked back your tracing of like the lemons and the koi fish because you kind of just said, all right, I got 4 shapes, I did it, I get it, okay, I'm done. And that really didn't create an attractive presentation. So I said you needed to kick it up a bit. So keep that in mind.
I did it and I get it up.
You did it and?
I had to reject it. I put a ladybug in the lemons and a hook in the line for the birdfish.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. Yeah, entertain me,
Yeah, but I get kicked out. I have to review again.
Oh, you got a kickback? Because
This has been graded and you got 100%.
Oh,
Oh, now.
Go check
This
it
was made
now.
yesterday.
there you go. All righty. So let me talk about our next. So let me remind you, I know I'm going to do this daily because I don't want it to fall out of your brain. Public messages and how they transform people in place. Here is the due date, the end of the month. So that's next week, right? Isn't that next week? Pretty much? Pretty close? Nearly? So do not forget this. There is no assignment due date under assignment links. This is a forum assignment. And so by the 30th, you should have grabbed an image in the world, not off of Google, but with your own camera. Yes?
So it can be somewhere else than here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You betcha. Could be in your world travels. It could, what?
Love it.
You got it?
I love it.
Love
I
it.
thought it was just something that
Anywhere else. And it's a photograph. It's some experience that you're having out in the world where a public space has been transformed. And it's been transformed for who knows what reason. Whether it's the way a sign looks, the way somebody created a graphic and has positioned it in an environment, the way somebody has created sculpture can be construed as art. The way, if you watch this video, I really do suggest you watch the Candy Chang video because you'll understand. How many people have watched the Candy Chang video yet? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I like it.
Like it. It's gonna move you. Don't you want to be moved in the world? I do. So watch it. It'll move you. It'll make you look at the world differently. It'll make you look at the person standing next to you differently. And then I'm personally incredibly excited to see what you present. You bring an image, so the assignment is watch the Candy Chang video before I die. And I think when you watch it, it'll help inspire you. It might inspire you rather than to find art. It might inspire you to create art yourself and then document it. some of you might be a mural artist, and you might decide that you get out your sidewalk chalk and you draw. Here's my new inspiration for this morning. You draw something. Those guys who do those beautiful sidewalk chalk things that create illusions in the ground. We've seen them on the internet. So maybe you decide you create like a big hole in the ground, and it's pretend, it's faux, it's and you've done it with chalk, and it says, "Do not fall into this hole," and then stand there with your camera and video it and see if people walk around your hole. Wouldn't it be fun? I mean, so who's to say that you won't create art in the world and see how people are impacted with it? And actually, if you find a video with a situation like that, make it a still. Submit a JPEG, because I want it as a JPEG, a single image. But also take a little video and post a little video. Wouldn't that just be a kick? Wouldn't it be fun? So feel free to create your own art, but also feel free to document it. I have little grandnieces and nephews, actually. Wow, when I say that, it makes me just so old. But they're toddlers, and I sent them a book for Valentine's Day called Share a Heart. Has anybody ever seen this? I got to show you. It's really kind of fun. I'm doing my digressing thing again, but it's worth it. Share a Heart. It's a guy who started an organization called Share a Heart. See a heart, share a heart. There you go. And I sent them this book, and the book is all about, in the world, finding hearts. And, these are preschoolers, so they can't really read words yet. And I thought, how fun. Like on my desk in my studio, I had gone up to Central Coast and was walking around the beach with a friend. And we picked up a rock, and it was exactly the shape of a heart. Randomly the shape of a heart. And it was very exciting to find. It's like finding a gemstone, right? It's like finding the diamond. And so I found this very exciting because I thought it would be so fun for little kids to go in the world and look for leaves and find shadows and clouds and whatever. And essentially that's kind of the thing I want you to go out in the world and find, is things that somehow move you or transform something. And then write, and then here, after you've found it, mostly it's about how things change community. Because I believe this class is all about what's your message. What do you have to say? What is your message? So, was it David who said he likes animals? So, David, maybe your message is something surrounding your focus and what transforms it. How do you change community space? So, look around in your community, or create an experience in your community and document it and write a brief little commentary about it. And then because it's a forum, you'll be able to see each other's and comment on each other's. Also, you must comment on at least 3 other posts in order to get fully graded for this. And that's so we start to open each other's eyes to the world we're living in. Are there any questions about it? It's pretty open-ended. Anywhere in the world. Okay, then let me jump over to, let me come back over here and jump back to your assignment so you can get a handle on it. And for some reason, this assignment becomes very hard for people. It's called Real to Abstract. And the Real to Abstract assignment is very much about seeing what's not there. Your assignment is where you start to look at commercial magazine ads. Full page, printed, not on the internet, paper printed magazine publication ads. And you're going to have to get a physical magazine. And the size of this assignment is 100% the size of the magazine ad. So if your magazine ad is that big, that is how big your assignment will be when you execute it. And what you're supposed to do is essentially, you're going to be looking through different magazines. I want you to get a commercial ad because a commercial ad has been designed by a graphic designer. And I want you to look at the composition of the ad and the way the composition is created. So it was Ben who said, look at my illustration, how it flows out of one place, flows into another place, and flows into another place, right? He consciously created compositional transition from item to item to item. And that's the same thing that happens in ads. Does anybody have a magazine with them by any chance? You do? Which magazine you got?
One of those free magazines from a skate shop.
A free magazine from a skate shop. Awesome. Skate shops are really fun. And what's going to make this assignment successful is actually when you pick images that have movement. It's far more interesting to look at an image that has movement. Oh, this is just so awesome. It's far more interesting to look at images that have movement. I would treat this like a spread, personally. Okay? Because, I mean, this isn't an ad. This is an opener to an article. But what you're really going to focus on is the way the composition is designed. So this one is wide, right? Horizontally wide, landscape. And you're going to focus on, most people, when you look at things, you're going to say, oh, there's a guy at the top of one of these ramps. Is that what it's called? Okay. So, skateboard bowl. I can't say that 3 times fast. So most people are going to say, oh, skateboarder up here going down the bowl. Most people might ignore the kind of light bouncing off of this figure. And most people are going to be super focused on guy going down the bowl, the ramp, whatever. But really what's going on here is so many other things. There's so many other things going on here. There's the highlights. If you looked at just the white edges and you squinted your eyes, like James and Michael and Ben are like at the best vantage point for this assignment, because if you squint your eyes and you look really small and squinty and eliminate all the details and you start to look at just the darks and the lights, the positive, negative space, you're going to realize that all this negative space is really what defines the ad, all the blacks. And the idea is to look at compositions and focus on the negative space to get an essence of the abstract. Let me see what I can find here. This would be super hard because there's no darks and lights. Everything's kind of monochromatic. Like Chris in the back there, what stands out for you if you squint your eyes super small? What do you see about this page? Probably the dark here in his shirt and the dark here. And that's kind of it, right? Everything else kind of just blurs together if you squint really small. Tell me.
I really can't see it, honestly.
You can't see it? So what is it you can't see? I'm glad you can't see it. What?
I just see like a whole bunch of different colors.
Okay. So what's the darkest thing you see?
I think in the corner wherever that is.
Right. And that's what you're supposed to do. In order to execute this, you put it all the way across the room, you squint your eyes and you say, okay, what is it I notice? And then you start to do thumbnail sketches. And for those of you who aren't liking those thumbnail sketches or struggle with them, this will help you. Something like this, lots of darks and lights, will be fun and kind of geometric, but has no movement. It's a lot more fun when you have movement when you select these. This one, let's see. This ad is, I know. Thank you. This ad, obviously, if you look at it like this, actually, if you look at these things, totally not in an orientation you're familiar with, this will make you crazy, this ad, because everything on the right side is so chaotic, there's not enough drama between darks and lights. It will create kind of a frenzy, like you don't know where your eye rests. So you don't have a positive negative space here. There's no rest. So it would be incredibly hard to execute. This one, let's see if I do my arm like this. This one, if you look at darks and lights, you probably see this shape at the top, Zoe. Is that like one silhouette shape? Zoe, right? Yeah. Is that one silhouette shape, or can you see a body? or clothes or a hat. You see a board and you see a body. And is it just one silhouette shape, basically? Okay, it's one silhouette shape. What usually happens to most students is they say, oh, skateboarder. He's wearing a red jacket, he's got a beanie on, he's got his board, and they start to draw these very carefully. They tell themselves, board, beanie, jacket. Well, that's not it. Zoe in the back sees this little upside down horseshoe with a line on the bottom. Fairly, right? That's what a real to abstract assignment's about. It's about, let me turn the lights off again. If we look. So for the real to abstract, you're going to take an ad. I prefer an ad over a photograph because you're going to realize the way the composition's intentionally set up, let's say, to look at the logo or to create some tension. And you're going to evaluate it based on the relationship of the images and the lights and the darks. You start to analyze it and create abstractions. And then in your journal, you're going to do, I'm very specific about the count because students really struggle with this. You're going to do 3 or more magazine ads, 3 completely different ads. Then you're going to create 6 or more fairly complete thumbnail abstractions using only black and white. Don't shade it too much. Just make it super flat areas of color. And then when you hone in on it, well, on all of these 6, so you're going to have 3 ads, 6 thumbnails at least. And they should be different darks and lights, not identical. So thumbnails, small. Darks and lights, I'll show you. I'll sketch some for you. And then, so that's already 18 thumbnails. Then you're going to take color for your ads, and you're going to make 3 complete abstractions for at least 2 ads. So that's 6 more, so now we're at 24. Get the idea? And then they should be larger in scale, where your thumbnails are this big. The other ones, the color ones, might be a little larger, so you can work on more color areas. And then decide which 1 or 2 ads you've created the sketches for. And then from your sketches, not from a scan of the ad, you draw it. You draw this. Okay? And the idea is that you need to focus on the positive, negative space for the artwork. So I actually don't have, I will try to upload more successful, for some reason I haven't uploaded and changed this page with more successful illustration work. But if you go, for example, to people's final projects, you might get more examples than I have here. So for example, if you went to people's portfolios and you looked at people's portfolios and you go to, well, let's go to this one and let's skip her intro. This was her ad. This was her real to abstract ad. And I think you can see the real ad here and her abstraction. Notice it's not perfect. Notice the image shapes aren't perfect. Notice the shapes focus on darks and lights. They don't worry about subtle shading. They don't worry about the hair being in perfect places. They do, let's see if she put a cast shadow behind the chair because of the shapes. So notice how it got very flattened out to create the real to abstract. And then, of course, there's the process. Let's see what else there is, because I'll go to the, let's see, what else we got? Actually, I think this one had a nice real to abstract. Let me see. No, his is screwed up. This portfolio I posted here because it's got really beautiful things going on, but he screwed up his real to abstract link, I think. Yeah. Okay. Nope. Didn't work. Well, I'll let you go to those yourself. You can look around. Let me come back to the assignment and stay on topic with it. So here's a student's. It's a downloadable PDF. So here's his ad. Here we go. Okay, so here's an ad he got. One of the strong parts about this ad is it's got very definitive shapes. One of the weak parts about this ad is that it doesn't have a lot of movement. So, like I said, movement helps. Here's a good example of the sketches. What's not successful about these sketches is their line art. That is not a successful sketch. A successful sketch would be to take this ad and focus more on positive, negative. So, for example, put the ad way across the room from you. I'm not kidding. Squint at it. And when I think about that ad, the truth is I just think from the beginning, what I remember was there's a rectangle here for the bottle. There's a circle here for the pomegranate. I'm not looking at it. And for some reason, I think there's a triangle here for martini glass. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that might be one abstraction. Maybe. The other thing is maybe I'll go to my next one and notice it's a rectangle. When I look at the ad, here, you guys can see it better, right? I don't know if you can see my drawing, but oh, I didn't do too bad actually. So what I might choose to do is not focus on the glass, but focus on everything but. So maybe this is what I do. And I'm not doing this right necessarily. But maybe I just focus on the negative space where all of this gets colored in and where the glass in the martini glass is not colored in. So do you see how that varies between the two? The idea is that you distill down the composition to its most simple shapes. Let me turn the light off more so it's carrying through. And you're going to create all of your thumbnails to focus on positive, negative, and darks and lights, and get the essence of a curve. So you're going to have to look at it super carefully. You might want to turn it sideways when you're doing it. You might want to turn it upside down so it becomes less recognizable, so you stop thinking that you're focused on what you're really looking at, because you start to translate it. Here's the bubbles. If you squint your eyes, the truth is you don't see these bubbles at all. If you squint your eyes, all you really see is blue, and then you see a rectangle at the bottom that has a rough edge and an oval where the logo goes. The type disappears. You're not going to include type at all. And you might just have little highlight edges of the bubbles as what you see. Are you following me? Right. And then this one, probably what carries your eye most in here is the contrast of the green ribbon, and then the body shape, and then the logo, which mimics the green ribbon, which points down at the type, but you're not including the type. And this is probably more accurate representation of how to handle thumbnails up here, although it's incomplete. This would be an incomplete assignment. And this is the digital progress here as it's being created. And you can explore your colors and so forth and playing with it, but you get kind of the idea. The idea is to get a feeling of movement and flow. Was that a question? That was a stretch.
That was a stretch.
That was a stretch. Okay.
Are we limited to amounts of colors?
Are you limited to amounts of colors? Not at all. You have no color hindrance. You might want to start with the colors that read accurately from the assignment, and then you might want to digress. Let me show you this student's. This student's a perfectionist, and I'm going to save this because it's easier for me to view it. Saved. There we go. This student's a perfectionist and really couldn't stand not drawing something perfect. This is a really nice example of working with the thumbnails, as a matter of fact. And she settled on this Clinique ad of the compact, which is fun because it's got great graphics. But it was so painful for her not to execute it exactly that she put a layer of the ad exactly behind it, like you did the Trace the Lemon photograph thing, and she executed the ad precisely, which really did not serve her well. See right here? Don't trace it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's the essence of the lines that you're looking to create. And you can see that when you pull the ad away and you start to play with the differentiation of colors and shades and shapes, you create amazing abstractions. And they kind of morph into a life of their own. So the idea is to look for what you're not accustomed to seeing. So if your eye says, I see a skateboarder, say, well, what's around the skateboarder that lets me define that shape? Don't focus on the skateboarder as the shape. Focus on the negative space as the shape, and that'll help you get there. And here, this is my favorite quote, which is obviously why I put it here. I've learned a lot from doing this lesson, mostly about how to look at the world. We're so used to seeing what we have been taught to see, or the important stuff, that we overlook the surrounding shapes and the flow of them. I learned that by looking at nature or the real world, we can draw abstract designs based on their shape and flow in relationship to their surroundings without having to use the content itself. That's the crux of this assignment. This assignment was definitely one that taught me a new creative perspective. It showed me to look at things differently, and I could only learn it through a process, not just someone telling me to do it. I'm more excited about opening this new door than the final outcome. This is what I wanted to learn in this class, a new way of looking at things so I can come up with something original and creative. And this is a hard project. It looks super simple. You can make any ad composition you want. I will try and have more examples for you, but and then also read the Q&A. I think I've told you every assignment has a Q&A page for people who are struggling. So here's an example of a photograph of the pier at the ocean, and that might be an example of how to abstract it. Yeah. Don't take the ad and trace it. Here's a beautiful example of what you can do with color and movement. You can look at this up close. It's a photograph of somebody doing a dance with this big billowing skirt. And again, obviously, you could trace it like the lemon thing and get the skirt stripes exactly where they are, but that didn't matter. What really mattered was the flow and the energy of the shapes that came out of the composition. And that's really what this is designed to help you start to grab and look at. Okay, so on Monday, you should come, on Monday, let's see where we're at with all of our assignments so you're not late. On Monday, you should come with your magazine ads and your sketches. There's many different ways to execute it. Don't miss your deadlines here for today on your illustrations, on your digital painting, and I would jump ahead. For any of you who have time, I would jump ahead on all of your exercises so you get more skills under your belt. It'll make you feel better. And I kept referring to Ashley and the fact that she taught herself this new skill. Feel free to jump ahead to the midterm assignment down here. And while it's fresh in your mind, you might want to, where's the midterm? Here we are. You might want to look through it. You're essentially making a video like I'm doing here and teaching a skill, a 5-minute skill, not more than 5 minutes. So that's super fast.
Yeah.
And you're narrating it. You're it. So you get to practice, say, look what I found, look how I did it. This is what you need to do. Okay? Read through that. So are there any questions about the assignment for the Real to Abstract so you know how to get started on it? Not a one? Most excellent. So bring magazines, bring some sketches on Monday, and I will look forward to seeing all of you. Have a great week.
Thank you.